Hey there everyone! So good to be back on YouTube. I have a lot of good content planned over the next several weeks, so thanks for tuning in. This is definitely not my typical video, and I appreciate you bearing with me as I share something that's pretty important. I kind of referenced it in my highlights from 2019 video, and I wanted to give you more details in this video. If you're new here, thanks so much. My name is Julie. I'm a professional competition shooter, author, veteran, mom, among many other things, and I love to share my passion for the shooting sports and safe, responsible gun ownership here on YouTube and all over social media in general. Welcome. Chances are you found this video because of the topic, so I appreciate you taking the time to stop by. Hopefully you'll stick around and subscribe. Speaking of which, if you haven't subscribed yet, there's a subscribe button. You can hit the bell for notifications and all of that good stuff. Intro done. Let's jump right into the topic of this video. So February is National Rare Disease Month, and February 29th is National Rare Disease Day. And this is something that I really never really thought much about in my day-to-day life. Sure, you see these notifications on social media, that sort of thing, but I never really, never really affected me like it has now. And I wanted to share with you the journey that our family has had because our oldest daughter was diagnosed with a rare disease last year. And as a family, we tend to be very private, and I tend to be very protective of my children, especially on the internet. This year at SHOT Show, the National Shooting Sports Foundation launched an initiative called Gun Owners Care. The main premise of the program is to showcase the fact that gun owners do care about what's happening politically, and they're also really great people. And so I am sharing our journey with our rare disease that's affected our home in hopes that will help others who are going through similar situations and also help those who are maybe struggling with something to get the help that they need. So to give you a little bit of background about our experience, almost a year exactly, Kansas City had a huge number of snow days, and my little girls were taking advantage of them a lot. And they were outside when our oldest daughter, our 11-year-old, came in with a rash on her face. It was itchy, her eyes were swollen, and clearly she had gotten into something. And so we took her to the doctor, and the doctor said, yeah, she probably had some sort of allergic reaction. If the itching doesn't go away, definitely come back, but it's nothing to be concerned about as far as a contagious rash or anything of that nature. And eventually it'll just kind of go away. If it doesn't, come on back. And it did. The itching stopped and the rash sort of, faded away, but there were still little marks around her eyes. We were told that that could take a little bit more time, so that was where we were. Fast forward a little bit more, in the springtime, our daughter was playing at a friend's house, and she came back and she had bumps on her knuckles, and her fingers were really red. And so we took her to the doctor, and the doctor said, oh, well, did your friend change soap? This looks like an allergic reaction, or maybe it's eczema. One of the two things. We're going to give it a few days, nothing to be concerned with. It's not contagious. If it doesn't stop itching, come on back, and we'll see what to do. So the redness faded a little bit, definitely stopped itching. The bumps didn't seem to be as pronounced. Both of these times, our daughter was playing a lot outside. And so fast forward yet again to the summertime when we brought her in for her well child exam with a new primary care doctor. And after her checkup, she said, everything looks really good. I brought up these skin concerns between the knuckles, the bumps on the knuckles, and the rash that never really went away, the red fingers and that sort of thing. And our doctor stopped, did a full examination, and said, you know what, this is something that may be potentially serious. I don't know if it is, but instead of wasting a lot of time and guesswork, I'm just going to refer you to the rheumatology department at Children's Mercy Hospital, which was quite a shock. We were not expecting to have to go to Children's Mercy Hospital for a referral, but we agreed, and after a few weeks we got an appointment and we went in and we had our first rheumatology appointment. That was very eye-opening, and it was at that appointment, looking at those skin conditions and just a physical examination, her doctor there ordered a bunch of tests and all but confirmed a diagnosis of juvenile dermatomyositis. So what is juvenile dermatomyositis? Well, you can call it JDM. That's what most people call it, because I'll tell you what, it is a mouthful. It is 23 letters of a lot. And it is a very, very rare autoimmune disease that affects mostly children from the ages of 2 to 13, mostly girls, although boys can experience it as well. And it presents oftentimes with these specific skin conditions that our daughter experienced, though it doesn't have to. And that's what makes it rare and confusing and oftentimes difficult to diagnose. The serious part is what happens underneath the skin, because basically the immune system goes into hyperdrive. And instead of acting normally, it starts to attack the individual capillaries inside the muscles. And when it makes them basically inflamed, it then sends more attack soldiers to address the problem, and the end result is muscle weakness and fatigue that eventually can be life-altering and, in some cases, life-threatening if left untreated. So it's a very serious disease that's difficult to diagnose and very difficult to kind of piece together for a lot of kids. So with that diagnosis, there are tons of tests between MRIs, lab work, EKGs, EEGs, so many things to really confirm and to get a baseline for what a child is going through so that a treatment process can begin accurately. And then there are two schools of thought here. One is kind of a gradual treatment of the disease and the symptoms in hopes that a child will naturally go into remission, or a very aggressive treatment plan, which tends to have much more success. So we obviously chose the latter in that case. And it involves a massive amount of steroids by infusion and steroids taken orally, lots of other pills in orange bottles, infusions of what they call IVIG, and also a weekly injection of a drug called methotrexate, which is basically a chemotherapy drug. And so all of this happens in a very short amount of time to start with, and then it is a very long, ongoing treatment process with lots of labs in between, and it's a lot. But when you see your child progressing and doing better, and when you get their lab results back and that say, you know, yes, this treatment is working, it really does warm your heart. Thank goodness we have great insurance, and we have always been the type that have planned for rainy days. And so we've been able to address all of our daughter's needs and do so comfortably, which is very good. But I can't even imagine those out there who have a child that does experience any one of these myositis diseases that doesn't have great insurance or able to be very flexible in their jobs and that sort of thing. I can't even imagine, and my heart goes out to you guys. So that brings me to the next topic that I want to talk about, which is awareness. So bringing awareness to a disease really does help. It helps so much. When you look at like ALS and the Ice Bucket Challenge, for example, it does so much to help those who need it most. And first and foremost, just the more people that know about JDM, juvenile dermatomyositis, the more likely doctors are able to think of these things when they're addressing symptoms among children. Maybe they'll notice those skin conditions and they're able to ask the right questions or ask for the right tests in order to make sure that they're catching it sooner. Our daughter was diagnosed in August. Her first symptoms happened in February, and that's really fast. It's basically a miracle that our new primary care physician had this kind of experience and was able to even think of this. But a lot of kids go through years of experiencing these skin conditions or muscle fatigue and weakness, and it's really hard to pinpoint because it's often so gradual. For our daughter, we had specific flares that were associated with being outside in the direct sunlight, and that is something that we've identified as a potential issue. So we've had to slather on the sunscreen and wear hats and long sleeves and all of these things to make sure that it doesn't send her into another flare-up situation. But just knowing more about the disease is going to create just a better healthcare environment for anybody who potentially has it. The second thing that awareness does is it gets you thinking about your own personal hygiene habits. Oftentimes I've seen even on the internet where people are laughing at about people wearing masks in public and that sort of thing, or they treat them like they're some sort of, sickly thing that they need to stay away from. But when you have a child that has a compromised immune system, even the smallest case of the sniffles can cause a flare situation like I mentioned earlier with the sun. And that's probably one of the most terrifying aspects of this disease, is because basically you can be on this wonderful treatment plan and everything is going great, and then all of a sudden your child catches a common cold, or worse yet, the flu, and it pushes everything back to like the starting point again. It's something that, makes you worry as a parent. So just having healthy hygiene habits is huge. It's stuff like covering your mouth when you cough or sneeze. It's stuff like washing your hands frequently or using hand sanitizer. It's even the matter of chewing with your mouth closed and being aware of your proximity. And finally, if you're sick, stay home. Sharing is not caring in this case. I was at SHOT Show in January and I caught the flu, like the terrifying thing that we have hoped and prayed that would not come to our house. And here I am bringing it into our home. I moved downstairs. I wore a mask every day. I didn't cook for my children. I was literally tied to a thing of hand sanitizer. And thankfully no one in our family caught it. But these are the types of precautions that you need to think about, not only for yourself to be healthier, and also it's more polite in general, let's be honest, but these little things can have a huge effect on whether or not someone with a compromised immune system gets sick. The other major component of awareness is that it helps raise funds, and it's a simple fact that drug companies spend a lot of time and effort on diseases where they can make the most money. I mean, it's basically how the healthcare system works. It's not that I'm faulting it, but when you have a rare disease, oftentimes they're using medications that are used with other autoimmune diseases because that's what they have available. So research really goes a long way, and that's where I wanted to share with you some of the things that I'm doing this year to specifically help the charity called Cure JM. I can't say enough about them, and if you want to give them a follow on social media, they're on YouTube, they're on Facebook, they're on Instagram, they're on Twitter. Even just retweeting or resharing a lot of their posts and talking about it, again, helps raise awareness so those doctors know, so that you're thinking about your hygiene habits. You can help continue to help those who need to get treatment for this disease. So Cure JM has been extremely helpful to us. They have given us all sorts of great information. They have webinars that we can attend. They're a Best in Independent Charities of America and also a 2019 top-rated Great Nonprofits charity. They've been one since 2011, so they're really legit. And I can say personally that it's been a huge, helpful resource for our family. And so this season I am going to be raising money for Cure JM, and I'm kind of doing it in a fun way that kind of brings it back to that whole gun owners care concept. So this season, wherever I compete, I am going to make a contribution of 23 cents, a nod to the 23 letters of juvenile dermatomyositis, and I'm going to make that donation for every single hit inside the center, every A zone, every down 0, every X, every 10, every knockdown or ring of the steel. I'm going to make that donation towards Cure JM and aiming to cure JM. I've also created a fun little Aim to Cure JM shooting challenge. If you want to find a good way to get out on the range and share some fun, you can shoot it with a 5-shot J-frame. You can take, your favorite .22 plinking gun out there. You can shoot it with your carry optics gun. You can even shoot it with a hunting rifle. It's basically a 5-round neutral string challenge that is a lot of fun, and it can be pretty tough. I have some suggestions on how you can shoot it, but really you can shoot it any way you like, and the suggested donation after you shoot it, and of course share it on social media with the hashtag AimToCureJM is $23 or a $1 donation for every hit inside your targets. So that's a fun way that I'm helping to, 1, raise awareness, and 2, get you out onto the shooting range and having some fun as well. So there you have it. It's been a roller coaster of a few months, as you can imagine. It's hard to put into words what it feels like when your child is ill. And I hope none of you ever have to experience it. If you are a family that is experiencing challenges with any of the myositis diseases and you want to reach out, please feel free to send me an email at julie@juliegolob.com. I'd so appreciate your help in sharing the importance of this message. I'd really appreciate it. It means so much. And finally, I really need to say thank you so much to my sponsors. You know I share them all the time. Smith & Wesson, Federal Premium, Trijicon, Safariland, Caldwell, Tipton, Wheeler, and the NSSF. They've just been so supportive, and especially last season and this season as well. It means so much to me to be able to share shooting in a way that works with making sure that our daughter has what she needs. And yeah, it's definitely a challenge, but with your help, hopefully we can raise awareness and aim to find a cure. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I promise there'll be more good shooting content coming soon.